Hi, I'm Jordan Rempel, Program Director at the Impact Society. And I was burnt out. I didn't like going to work. I would sit in the parking lot and cry and just not want to go in. Kind of had that mindset of, okay, who's it going to be today? Who's going to die today? And it was really tough. I was leading a youth program in Calgary here for young men addicted to drugs and alcohol, living on the street, suffering with homelessness, and just really was burnt out, to be quite honest with you. It had been a really tough year in 2017. That's when kind of fentanyl rolled into Calgary. Really hard year personally and professionally. I lost 36 kids that I had known. A lot of them I was pretty close with, that I had seen make a decision to turn their lives around at some way, shape, or form at some point. And then fentanyl came and it just started wiping people out. So Chris and I started talking about, like, what can we do to get in front of the curve? And it was around that time that Chris invited me out to a Heroes graduation. Didn't really have a clue about anything that Heroes was. But to be honest, it just got me out of work for the day. I got sat at a table with 6 grade 7 girls, and I got a sheet with a bunch of questions on it that I had to ask them. And the first question was, what is your biggest strength? What's your biggest gift and ability? And I went around the circle, and this first girl, she said integrity. And I was like, hey, that's a big word for a 12-year-old. Like, what's integrity actually mean to you? And she said, doing the right things when no one else is looking and staying true to my core values. And I was blown away by that. So I went around the table, you heard all these things like honesty, perseverance, all these really cool and in-depth answers, because I did question them on how they applied that and how that was applicable to their life. But I got to the last girl, and you could tell that she was a bit developmentally delayed, that she didn't really fit in with the rest of the class. She was a new girl to that class, hadn't gone through the Heroes program. And I asked her, like, hey, what's your biggest gift or ability? What's your biggest strength? And she said, I don't have any, I'm useless. And instantly that kind of shot me back to what my life was like in grade 7. And I had very low self-esteem. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think anybody cared about me, that I had any value to offer. So I instantly kind of like put my walls up of like, hey, how am I going to protect this girl from, her friends dogpile, or the people around her table dogpiling on her, because that's what would happen to me, or that's what I felt would have happened to me in the 7th grade. So I'm kind of processing it, being like, hey, what do I jump in to build this girl up, and how do I not let these other girls tear her down when she's already being so vulnerable? And before I even had time to process that, the first girl in that circle said, hey, that's not true. I've seen your art. You're a phenomenal artist. And every single girl took turns around that table, building that girl up when there was a clear opportunity to tear her down. And honestly, that was enough for me right there. I was like, hey, if there's a program that can get these 6th grade or grade 7, 12, 13-year-old girls building this girl up instead of tearing her down, I want to know more. I think it was about 2 weeks later that I quit my job, kind of dropped everything that we were doing, and really put our blood, sweat, and tears into rebuilding the organization with the goal of having 1 million kids go through by 2030. But we got a lot of educators out there that see the need, that are just trying to figure out what is out there that will actually make a difference. And that's where we can come in, because we are evidence-based. We have studies that prove that Heroes grows the resilience of the youth by an average of 47%. And we are believers that resilience is the biggest prerequisite of success. Like, hey, we have something that's going to engage your students in a way that they've never been engaged before, and it takes you 15 to 20 minutes before the class to get ready for it. It's not something where you're going to be doing hours of research and watching hours of videos and putting together a slide deck yourself. It's actually spending your energy on the students instead of the preparation. And I think that's where we really want to focus too, because I know for me, it's like I'm a very passionate person, and that passion, if I use that all on a preparation, I'm not going to have much left in the tank for what it's actually for, right? So if we can reserve that tank and allow them that opportunity to actually use their passion in the classroom instead of the preparation, we're making their jobs easier. We're getting the students and more fulfilling, and the students are getting something that actually works out of it. I think an even bigger reason is you see those moments of hope, right? When that kid gets their family back, they get that job, they graduate the program, they make a new friend, whatever it is, and you see that hope come back to a hopeless kid. Hey, just because you may have been forgotten, just because you might feel like you've been stepped on or used or someone's thrown you away, doesn't mean that you don't have value. So really bringing it back, just that simple approach of like, hey, there may have been some things that have happened in your life that are out of your control, some really unfortunate things that have happened. But what we really want you to recognize is that doesn't diminish your value in this world, that you still have gifts and abilities, you still have strengths, and you can still make a difference and like who you are in the mirror.